Now let's go even more primal with the boom, 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 boom. Yes, she is a wordsmith. And I want to introduce you to someone who takes the heartbeat, literally, that Tamu has been speaking of, this heartbeat, this first beat, and makes music from it. And as she makes music from it, she lives in her destiny, and she is going to bring you into fairy energy. If Tamu took you into the earth, this lady is going to take you through the air. Her name is Mickey Stewart. I absolutely love her. She is the Bowron expert. Yes, she is. And we are going to promote her to panelist, and I want you to bang your drums for her. I want you to click, 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 click. I hope I've clicked the right Mickey. If it is you,
it's me. Wow. Holy smokes. How do I follow that?
by being your beautiful self.
I have to say, before coming on, I knew I was going to ground myself, but I didn't want to miss a minute of Tamu. So I sat on my couch and I tried to still myself, and I was like, just getting grounded. But when I came back on, she actually grounded me. She she did what I was hoping to do, because as you know, when you and I get together, it can be like, and especially coming out of the leadership training we just did, it's like you're spinning, 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 like when you're trying to make yourself dizzy when you're a kid. And it's like a gentle pair of hands just put their hands on their shoulders and just ground at you, right? Because, as you know, I can start to speak really quickly when I get excited, Mary Kate. But no, that was just what I needed. Perfect. She's
Oh my
amazing.
gosh, she is. She's cool. She's cool. She's
Yeah.
Mama Mountain. And so we move from Mama Mountain to the fairy. Fairy. Oh my gosh, Mickey Stewart. And you know, we're even maybe going to mention that in a minute, the name. But I want you to introduce yourself, because we've been, I mean, we're moving at such a pace through this wounds to wisdom to wealth, and so many different stories. And I want to accolade everyone that stayed, because people are kind of popping in, popping out, and I can see the names jumping in and jumping out. And I want to say thank you to everyone that is still here, but also kind of thank you to you coming in early and kind of getting in grounded with everyone here, and to give everyone the opportunity to see who you are and why you are perfect for this moment of the day. Mickey, take it away. Tell them who you are.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Firstly, I have to say what an honor it is to be part of this. I watched, I think, all of yesterday and all of today, and to be in amongst these really inspiring people, that is truly an honor. I'm very, very grateful. I am a drummer. I'm a drum teacher. I'm a musician. I get to drum for a living, and I get paid for that, and I get to call it my job, and no one's come in yet and said, wait, now you're having too much fun at that, so I'm going to keep doing that. So yeah, I'm originally from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, Canada, but I live in a little town in Perthshire called Crieff in Scotland. And yeah, it kind of feels like a fairy tale life most of the time. And yeah, it's so I live with my husband of 24 years, Mark Stewart. He's a piper and a composer as well. Our son Cameron is 16, and he's also a piper. So music is our family. It's what we do. It's what I do for work. It's what I do for after hours fun, practicing in my own time. It's what we do as a family. We play together. So our work and fun family time really blends together. So I also teach I teach privately in a really amazing private school here in Crieff, and I also teach online. I teach the Celtic hand drum, which is the Bowron. And so at school, I teach drum kit, Bowron, snare drum, all the pipe band, snare drum, bass drum, and tenor drum. But online, yeah, I really got started with this whole online teaching back in about 2008. I don't even know how old YouTube was then, but that's when I got started, and that's when I started. I think I was on YouTube before I started my website. So yeah, ever since I've been doing more video stuff, and so I have two online courses. I have my boronexpert.com website. Yeah, and I get to teach all over the world. Some of my private students during lockdown last year, being ready already online and doing video really helped make the transition for me to go teaching to Google Classroom and stuff, and teaching kids in Dubai and London and Greece, and like it was very seamless. So I was one of the lucky people who just actually was busier during COVID than before COVID. So yeah. That's kind of just a brief little summary. I just drum for a living. When I'm not teaching, I'm creating new content, recording videos here. I do all the editing, marketing. I'm like a one-woman show.
She really is. I mean, this is the truth. It's like, I drum for a living. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't just for a living. You literally, like, you create everything. And, I want to kind of land this with the audience that she mentioned, kind of started doing some video in 2008. Come on, guys. We're now in 2021. Last year, a lot of businesses, it was their first year online. This lady had started way before that, when essentially, yeah, YouTube was big. Of course it was. But the way that you were teaching was kind of new, really. Let's be honest,
Yeah.
Bringing what you were doing. But not only that, you were filming yourself, you were editing yourself, you were learning about how to do this and how to make it interactive. It wasn't just the drumming. You kind of started being not just the CEO of your business, but marketing, learning how to sell it, learning how to interact. And you became like this expert at so many different things. And then when COVID hit and everyone went online, you were already ready because you'd gone through and thirsted and learned and obsessed and got wisdom and created. You'd already done that. So I kind of want to presence that to the audience, because a lot of people think they can't do things on their own. And actually, when you're passionate, you find a way to get that message out and to do it in a really, really vibrant way. So accolade to you for doing that. But also I want to kind of take us back now. Take us back to, little Mickey. And to kind of bring in, what happened for you, why you became a drummer, what was it about that, and how you ended up in Scotland, interesting story, and how you ended up with the piper and with the pipe dream that actually became a reality. So take us through that.
Okay, I'll see if I can condense this in less than an hour. You can rein me in anytime, because when people ask us how we met, how I met my husband's like, oh my gosh, here it goes, right? But no, I'll start with Little Mickey, and it's funny when I say Little Mickey. Everyone in my life from my younger years know me as Mickey, but my name is actually Claire Michelle, and my maiden name was Piro. And the name Claire, I never used that first name. A lot of people on here might know me as Michelle. Recently went back to my nickname. I'll explain that in a bit. But yeah, I was named after a nun. Sister Claire used to write the music out for my dad. Was a singer and songwriter, and he couldn't write any music, and so the nun at the bottom of the hill at the Villa Madonna would write out the sheet music. So when he sent it to the publisher, he actually had sheet music for it. So it was named after Sister Claire. And so, yeah, there's music in both sides of my family. My mom is one of 8. My dad is one of 10. So I have like 42 first cousins. And a lot of those uncles and cousins are very musical. Some of them like really amazing professional musicians. So I'm blessed that way to get the music gene from there. So I grew up in a very my dad more country music, but I grew up as like a Celtic music snob. Like I all just wanted to listen to like fiddle and pipe band. Like I that's all I wanted to listen to when I was younger. And so yeah, a lot of what I do today is because of my dad. My dad passed 15 years ago, and he, one thing I haven't shared publicly that much, but I think because nowadays it's much more important to be completely authentic. But my dad was bipolar, and he had to take medicine his entire adult life that I knew him to balance his life and he chose us as a family. My dad could have been like the next Johnny Cash. He was so charismatic. When Sonny showed up, the party began. It must have been really hard for him to take a medicine that basically killed all your creativity. Like, can you imagine if you're like super excited, and he probably wrote most of his best songs when he was on the manic side. And I can't even imagine, Mary Kate, if someone said to me, when you're feeling that inspired, well, here, you need to take this drug to just basically turn into a zombie. You're not allowed to feel like that. Like, I can't even imagine that. So I don't need to take a drug to suppress my energy and my enthusiasm, my creativity. So I'm not going to friggin' waste that. I'm not going to waste that gift. So I feel like I do a lot of what I do because of my dad, and that gives me courage. And so when I was growing up, my sister was a piper. A lot of my cousins were pipers and drummers, and we're all in the pipe bands. And when I was a teenager, there was a young girl that was in the band a few years ahead of me, and she came to Scotland to play with this amazing grade one band, and grade one's like Olympic level. And I thought, oh, I didn't even know that was a possibility to like for someone from here, like a really small area, to go off and play in the big leagues. And so that planted the seed. She was like my Roger Bannister, right? Saying this is possible. And so, and my mom, we drove my mom's poor Micra into the ground, my mom would drive us 5 hours each way to a band practice. Like it was a 10-hour round trip to Halifax. Like I wouldn't be here today doing what I'm doing if my family didn't invest so much time and money and support into me. Like, because they didn't know at the time. I didn't know at the time that I'd end up doing this for a living. So yeah, back in, I guess after a couple of trips back and forth to Scotland, my husband now, Mark Stewart, we had been in the same room on 3 or 4 different years in different countries and never met. We were in the ScotRail Tavern in Perth and had never met. He was at the Antigonish Highland Games 2 or 3 separate years, and we had never met. Very, like, everyone knows everybody, and it's like we probably bumped shoulders and we never met until this one time. I wasn't in the Nova Scotia tattoo, but my friend was organizing it, and he thought, Mickey, you'll take your drum everywhere and you'll make all the visiting bands feel really welcome by getting the party started after they like played their hearts out for the audience. They wanted them to have a good time. And so he gave me a press pass to go to all the tattoos and to go to all the, get the party started afterwards. So I'm at this cast party for the Nova Scotia International Tattoo. I'm not even in the cast, but I'm there with my friends. And somebody comes up to me and says, oh, there's a guy here from Scotland with his small pipes. Would you get out and play with him? And I said, oh, yeah, sure. And someone went up to him and said, oh, there's this girl from Cape Breton with her barn. Would you get out and play with her? And he said, yeah, sure. So we literally met on stage, and he looked at me and he said, what would you like to play? And I said, you just play whatever and I'll follow you. Boom. It was love at first sight for me. I knew in that moment I'm going to marry this man. So I went home that night and I told my roommates about it. And one of my roommates, who's like, she would like read your palms, and she was very intuitive and stuff. She's like, oh my God, you're going to totally marry him. And like, I knew it. And so literally, like that next, I think we had met again. He was going to Cape Breton with his band, and I was going to play with him again, but my grandmother was sick, so I was at the hospital visiting her. But anyway, ended up speaking to him till 3 a.m. at the Gaelic College. Still, like, he was shy and I was shyer. nothing, no kiss or anything, right? But I'm driving over the mountain back to my mom's house at 3 in the morning. I'm like, I have to go to Scotland and see if this guy likes me. Like, I'm like, that's it. So Monday morning, I go into my boss. I was working at the Halifax Citadel as an animator, a soldier's wife, and I said, Dave, I need 2 weeks off in August because I need to go to the World Pipe Band Championships. And also, can I, because that was, I thought, well, I'll go to the Worlds so it doesn't look like I'm too like thirsty, but I need to go to see if this guy likes me. And then, oh yeah, could I get a pay advance for my flight? Right. And he gave it to me because he was my lead drummer. Right. So I have a lot to thank for him for. So this was in the beginning of July. I booked my flight. One of my friends said, you can't go to Scotland by yourself. I'm coming with you. Another friend said, you guys are going to go and have too much fun and tell me all the stories. I'm going to have serious fear of missing out. I'm coming with you. So within like 3 or 4 weeks, I'd enrolled two of my friends to come with me, and we were on a plane to Scotland. And I was coming to see if this guy liked me. And then
Oh my God.
5 months later, I was living here.
5 months later, and literally after being on stage with this guy, and you're like, I will follow you. And he's like, yes, you will. I'm in love. I'm in love.
But okay, but I forgot to tell you the coolest part of this. So okay, when ever since I was 16 years old, I
Yeah.
told you I was a Celtic music snob. Like talent was very, very appealing to me. Talent was very. I had just had this romantic idea, and it's very attractive to me. And so I would say I'm gonna like my sister and my mom would ask me something about being having a boyfriend, and I said I'm gonna marry a cute young Scottish piper with a strong Scottish last name, but like he has to be like really good. Like he's got to be world class. He can't be kind of like so, right? So this was like my mantra of who I was going to attract, and I said it, Mary Kate, with such knowing. Like I knew, like I didn't. I maybe had like three first dates in my life.
Mm.
Never had a second date because I thought, why bother? They're not my cute young Scottish piper, like who's going to come whisk me away, right? So, like, literally, my husband at the age of 23 was my first and only ever boyfriend.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And I kind of want to jump in the chat now. First of all, oh my gosh. And secondly, we're going to go back and have a look at this because this is how Mickey lives her life. And we want to be able to extract that juice so that we can all live in that way. Because ultimately, it's like, I am going to do this. And then you did it. Then you heard straight away about this piper, or you were asked to go up on stage with him. Instantly, there's this intuitive knowing. And then you're like, I'm gonna book the ticket. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna enroll my friends. I'm gonna be there. He is gonna be there. He falls in love with you. You're there, and you're now living not in Canada, but over in Scotland 5 months later.
And
And
see out that window, I can see a castle outside that window.
and this is what I'm kind of talking about with fairy tale life. This
Yeah.
fairy tale life that is, how did you start to create this fairy tale life, and what was it that kind of sprung that? I'm going to marry this guy. I'm going to live over there. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get what I want to get out of life. Because on the outside, Nikki, it definitely looks like this fairy tale life. And I know it wasn't always that way. So kind of take us back to what, and you kind of have mentioned it anyway, but the pain that kind of started to open up that and kind of bring you through into the wisdom and into what it is that you're doing today.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that I learned when we did our leadership training together, I initially had this belief that, when I heard other people's traumatic stories and wounds, that mine weren't that bad, and I didn't feel like mine were as worth sharing. Like, because
Yeah.
they weren't like hugely traumatic as other people's, and I would compare mine to other people's. And what I want to say before I say anything else is that all of our wounds and the wisdom that we learn from them, it's just as important. It's relevant to us, and so yeah, my probably one of the most, I would say, the most pivotal point in my life was when my dad passed 15 years ago. American, I really struggled. Like for a whole year to the day that he passed, it was like someone had literally just told me that day. I cried every day. I was an emotional wreck. I was not coping like at all. And I just I couldn't get out of my own head. And so that's when about a couple months after a year, I think it was, I'd read the book The Secret, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been totally looking at this the wrong way, thinking I'm cherishing him by remembering seeing him in the hospital, and instead of remembering all of the great amazing times that, like, my dad didn't read stories to me going to bed. He'd bring his guitar and sing songs to us at the end of the bed, kind of thing. And so I switched. Honestly, I became almost like evangelistic. It made such an important change in my life. It was like a switch. I just flipped. I went from just not coping to like life is amazing. And that's when I learned that I'd actually been manifesting throughout my life. I just didn't know that that's what it was.
Yeah.
But gratitude has been probably the biggest gift from that I've that is, it's like the magic wand
Yeah.
that has written my fairy tale. Really, gratitude. I have gratitude journals up the yin yang. The
Oh my
stuff that
God.
I've written in my gratitude journal, like I can show you evidence and proof in them today that, like, declaring it, writing it down as if it's already happened. Like, I have so much fun with that. It's so freaking cool. I just love it. And so that was I was just stuck in such a rut of pain, that when I came out of that, that would have been maybe like 2007. Then I started to really go on the journey of the self help and just exploring that. And then in 2008 is when I had really serious voice problems. I was teaching so much. I was teaching like at, I can't remember, it was like 5 or 6 local schools, two schools, like 2 solid days a week, and then spread out to some other schools. Then I was teaching through the Royal Conservatoire, which was the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama at the time. I was teaching like a lot, but then I'm like shouting over loud drummers, right? Because one of the most powerful things that I use is the say it as you play it. And so, I'm kind of shouting the rhythm over the top of all these loud snare drummers. And so it's like my speech therapist said, it was like my voice box, instead of like closing like that, was going like that. It was like, and I had calluses on my voice box. And yeah, I was at the point where I was going to have surgery unless the speech therapy helped it. So I would lose my voice every couple of months. I was barely could speak. Like, I sound like really no voice.
Yeah.
And so I got like really scared, because like teaching, like I love performing, I love drumming, I love playing, but teaching is really my heart. Like, that is probably the most rewarding part of being a musician and a teacher. The teaching part, I just get a buzz out of. So when I thought, wait now, what if I can't actually teach anymore? I'm like, wait now, like, this isn't happening. This can't happening. That scared the crap out of me. And so while I was going to speech therapy, first to try to see if I can heal it before surgery, I started trying to think, how can I still do this, right? And still reach lots of people. And so I started thinking, well, maybe I could record one video, and then hundreds or thousands of people could watch it. And that's when I'm like, okay. So I started going online and looking, and I found my first mentor, that basically taught me, as my homework was my first YouTube videos. And my first YouTube
Yeah.
video, welcome to my YouTube channel, took me 42 takes. It was so, it was so cringy, Mary Kate. It was like, hi, welcome to, it was like, I was so in my head, right? But what I learned through that course was, we had a spiritual life coach that actually was a guest on that, and she did a really powerful grounding class with us that I would use the audio from her talk as I was like setting up my tripod and setting up the light and all, and that would ground me before my videos, once I kind of got in the groove of it. And And that's when I could like really take the focus off of like, oh gosh, how's my hair look or how am I going to sound, and like really just imagining that person in Nebraska that doesn't have a teacher near them and like just wants to feel like I'm there in the room with them. It helped me actually that way kind of sit into that way of being, that I think that's why a lot of my YouTube videos that have so many views, I mean, it went from getting excited when I had my first 100 views to now like over 2 million views on my channel.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it wasn't like overnight, but it
Mhm.
was, it feels really good to serve in that way. So that was like a huge thing in my life, to go from recognizing that issue that was seemed like a big problem working against me was the biggest blessing. And I now see that everything that happens like that is the blessing, right? It's the growth spurt.
It's amazing because, just to kind of go back into that, it's like your father was your biggest inspiration, to have that beauty around you, that creativity, that you talked about, that Johnny Cash charisma, that all
Yeah.
of that, and then to feel that grief. And I think, put in the chat, somebody died close to you, where you felt like every day it is grief, every single day after they died, and it's almost like, I be careful about this, but it's like a badge of honor for them when they pass, that you are grieving for them. And
Yeah.
yeah, it is
Yeah.
genuinely painful, but it's like we're gifting them our grief every single day. And yet here a year later you get to see, oh, okay, I can actually be in gratitude for this. I can actually start to gift myself life again, and not, I haven't died because he's died. And actually we're going to come to a little bit further on down the line with kind of what happened with him. But
Yeah.
to then, the voice, and I can see Michelle is like saying she's had trouble with her throat as well, and it's literally through that room you've got to create what is now like such an empowering, fantastic business service. You wouldn't have really gone online and started looking for all of that information
No.
had it have not been for that voice going. And now with the 2 million views, now with all the students that are coming into your courses, you started to build these courses. Tell us about how you get guided, because this is kind of like how things are starting to come full circle. You've got this, you mentioned grounding, and you love that Tamu kind of ground you, and my
Yes.
energy with you is that kind of fairy energy,
Yeah.
very tail energy. But who is it and what is it that really kind of guides you through this?
Well, it's funny because maybe even like a year or two ago, I wouldn't talk about this stuff online because like I think, oh, people will think I'm like too woo woo. Now I'm like, I don't care. This is who I am, right? And
Yeah,
especially with you, Mary Kay, it's especially with all the speakers in summer. It's like you're speaking the same. We speak the same language, and so when I talk about
yeah,
asking the universe for guidance, or my dad or whoever, in my attic space, this is our whole top floor of our house, is like our music creative area, and honestly, when I come up in the morning, it might sound really weird, but I say, "Good morning, angels." And one of them is my dad, one of them is Dr. Wayne Dyer, and the other one is Lane Redmond, who was amazing leading female frame percussionist. And I like, whether it's them or universe or just my higher consciousness, whatever it is, I don't know exactly how it works, but I know that it works because whenever I need some guidance, I ask, and literally, boom, like it comes so quick. It still freaks me out. Like I actually say thank you out loud. And so I feel like when I'm teaching, I feel really generous when I'm teaching because I know I'm never going to run out of stuff. I don't know how, but I just know that I'll never run out of stuff to teach. So I can never give too much away. And
yeah.
that's what I would say to anyone wanting to start like on YouTube or Facebook Lives and video and stuff. If you're really like really great at what you do, you'll never run out of insights to
I
share,
love
right? So
that.
be super generous with that. Like give some of your best stuff away. And so it's funny. My son and I joke about this all the time. When we lose stuff, we ask for we ask, okay, help. ask the universe to help us find it, and it finds it.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've discovered lately that really works, that I've been having a lot of fun with, is that I don't know. I think I told you about. I was watching this documentary on Netflix. I think it's called Surviving Death. It's really interesting. I only got so far into it, but there was one guy he was talking about talking to a medium, and he was talking about he wanted to ask. He was having a hard time. I really resonated with him because he was struggling big time after his dad passed, and so he said his sister had gone to the medium and gotten a lot of closure, a lot of comfort from it. She said, just give her a chance. So he said, okay, I don't really believe in this stuff. So he's saying to himself in the documentary, he's saying, okay, Dad, if you're really here with me, when this medium comes, have her mention something about my hair. And his hair was nothing like out of the ordinary. It's just normal man hair. And so anyway, the medium comes and, has a reading, no big ahas. She's leaving and she stops in the tracks in the doorway. She pauses and she turns around. She looks kind of puzzled and she says, for some reason, he wants me to mention something about your hair. And I was like, oh my gosh, right? And so I thought that is so cool. That was on a Wednesday night. I watched that. On the Thursday morning, the other big insights I get are on when I'm doing my Kundalini yoga with my teacher on Zoom. And during the relaxation times when I get a lot of my like just downloads. So I thought I'm going to play with this because the guy was like really commanding, not like just asking politely to the universe, to his God. I'm like, okay. I'm like, Dad, I really want to get that role in that movie. Like I do supporting work. I can't really talk about the TV roles or movies that I do because of NDAs, but there's this particular movie that I'm not like not for speaking roles, it's just background, but I do it as a fun hobby. It's super, super fun. I'm like, Dad, I really, really want that movie. Like, come on now, do your thing. And I'm imagining my agent is like typing and he's booking me, and I'm imagining like the casting agents are pointing to my picture, right, and that's her, and I'm like visualizing it like as if it's already happened. So anyway, I sit up from relaxation, ready to go into the last bit of the class, and I usually have my phone off, but it was on. I turned it over, and it was a text from my agent. And then afterwards, I realized it wasn't that one. I was like, in my head, I'm like, Dad, that's not the gig. I want the other one. And so before I could decline that one that my agent sent me, they released me from it. Normally that never happens. Normally you say, no, I can't do it. Then they release you or whatever. So anyway, that was Thursday morning. 3:00 Thursday afternoon, I get another text from my agent. Are you available for that movie? I was like, oh my God. And so I'm like, I've started doing this with my dad. I'm playing. I feel closer to him now, 15 years after he's passed, than I've ever felt like since he's passed. So the other day I played with it again. I was like, Dad, I've been asking the universe to help me find that easy button that I've been looking for. We have this red button, and like we asked for it months ago, and I've torn my house upside down because it was driving me crazy that the universe didn't answer me like right away. So anyway,
How rude.
I know, right? So on Thursday morning during yoga, I'm like, Dad, come on now, I need to find that easy button. Saturday morning, I was inspired to help my son clean out his closet, like declutter, like deep. And like I didn't intend to do that in the weekend. Anyway, I moved a bunch of boxes, and what do I find?
That was easy.
So that's my new favorite tool, is like just be like a little bit more playful and a little bit more like, come on now, this is it. Then I play with don't be attached to the outcome and all that stuff. So it's so yeah, that's all the like the weird and woo woo stuff that not everybody gets to kind of hear and see, but that's a big part of who I am.
It is, and it's a big part of who our audience is. And I want you to, go in the chat if you're here, say I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, and let us know. Do you talk to the universe? Do you talk to people? Who do you talk to? Even if it's just yourself, we all have something or someone that we connect to, and that we've got here. My grandma is my angel of faith. Yes, Mickey, I understand that. My mum, definitely we have people or animals, and absolutely always talking to the spirits. We've got these energies around us, and kind of as we're working through this wounds to wisdom to wealth sort of storyline and looking at how we live, we are not on our own. Yesterday we were very much in the practical and how things were, how we practically got over resistance and how we use resilience. And but Richard did start us off with, actually there was kind of a lot of connection with his spirit energy. And then today we've been looking more around that human connection and more around that spiritual connection. And Tamu mentioned the ancestors and that we have all of that energy in us. And here you are saying, okay, I used to manifest all the time as a kid. I kind of knew what I wanted, and I went for it and it happened. But it wasn't until my father died and I was in so much pain and grief, and it wasn't until then I saw the secret and was like, oh, get myself back out of that. I used to be in this natural flow of energy. And here then we have the voice that you're so well known for. You're so happy and jovial, and we love that banter energy. And yet having to have the voice, literally to over the drum, like you said, I'm never going to put that drum down, but I have to be loud over snare drum to take you on this journey, and then to start kind of implementing this, literally commanding the universe through the channel of your father. And he is, for you, bringing that forward. So many of us can resonate with that. And I think it's fascinating that we can actually use that. We can use that commanding energy to start healing our wounds, to start moving into prosperity, to grab the movie that you want to grab, to be in the places that you want to be in, to have the husband that you want to have, and to actually start owning it. Like you said, not everybody gets to know about that part of me. And I think we can all feel that not everybody gets to know those parts of us. And yet they're integral. You say it's a very, very big part of you. So where does this move you to now? How is this kind of this energy of moving online because of kind of what happened with the voice and the commanding of your father energy in the universe? And good old Wayne Dyer is a great one. I think he's up there as one of the ascending masters somewhere.
Yeah.
And how does that move you forward? What's for the future for you now?
It's funny because just like so many creatives, I have so many ideas. You can easily get that shiny object. Oh, I should do this. I should do that. I should do this. And it's sometimes I'd say extra hard for really creative people to like just focus on one thing. I found that that having these wounds can actually help get clarity on that. It helps you prioritize what's really important. And so I found that something that happened 2.5 years ago when I had a spontaneous traumatic brain injury, that helped me get really clear so that I could then create my second, like I have a platinum level 1 course, but I had this platinum level 2 course that was like 10-15 years in the making. Like honestly, if I didn't have any sense of urgency, I'd be still working on this thing and never getting it done. So once just to preface it, I think it was maybe 2018. I fell sick and I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't stand up. I was like getting sick from the pain. I had a house full of visitors, 10 Canadians staying with me, and I'm a director in the Creve Highland Gathering, so I'm like down at the games field all week setting up, and I'm just thinking, oh, this is jet lag because I've just gotten back from Cape Breton for the summer and I'm just tired because of jet lag. But anyway, I'm like dragging my butt everywhere and I'm like feeling awful, and I'm trying to sightsee, trying to take them up to castles, and I'm like making excuses to you guys go in so I could, like, literally I was getting sick in car parks. Like I was in so much pain, and I just had I thought, oh, do I just have a really bad headache? And I ended up, when my guests were here, I ended up in hospital and didn't know what it was. my first fear was that my dad had one of the things my dad survived. He survived a lot of things, and he survived a brain aneurysm, and recovered from that. But that was my first go-to thing because it was that bad. Like my head was going to explode. And first trip into the hospital, they didn't know what it was. I would come home and I'd rest for a couple of days. And when I laid down, this is really key. If I can, even if this someone hears this, that this might really trigger something for them that might connect for someone else, is that my headache got significantly like better when I was like horizontal, laying down. And so I spent a couple of days laying down, and then I'd feel a little bit better. And then I'd feel really bad. So I'd end up in hospital again. And I was just so scared. And I got the spinal tap, said it wasn't a brain aneurysm, but there was one doctor that really fought for me to get me into a neurologist, like that was coming the next day. And this guy knew right away what it was. And it was a spontaneous cerebral spinal fluid leak. There was like a tear in my dura around the C1, C2. So I was leaking spinal fluid, and my brain was literally like sagging into the back of my head. So when I would lay down, it was like the gravity was less. So that's why. But it was spontaneous. I had no idea really how I did it. I could have just, stretched too much. I don't know. But so anyway, that was like my husband, though, at the time before we knew what that was. I spent a whole couple of months, couldn't get out of bed. Every time I would get up to go to the bathroom or, crawl there or in the shower, like the light, this is when life wasn't a fairy tale, Mary Kate. This was when I'm crying in the shower thinking this is my life. My husband thought he was going to be my permanent carer, for the rest of my life. It was really, it was so scary. I tried everything. I'm in the hospital. I'm doing all my tapping. I'm nothing in my toolbox was helping me at this point. So, but it's amazing what we're talking about. Tamu was talking about your body, and everything that I had to heal my body was the pharmacy inside my body was all I needed. They took blood from my arm, injected it into my epidural space, and the blood went right up. It knew exactly where to go to the hole and clotted it and healed over. And so everything I needed to heal myself was inside me. And the best blessings I got from all of that was I got to spend a whole 12 months of recovery going to Kundalini yoga classes for the first time, falling in love with it, going to mindfulness classes, going to shamanic drum classes, making my own shamanic drum, going to finding an acupuncturist. Basically, it was a year of self-love and slowing the heck down. And there was probably about 5 or 6 months in, I thought, I can just I'm better, I can go back at it. And then my body was start to feel yuck again. And my neurologist said, you know what, the brain's really clever. It's always trying to get back to homeostasis. It's trying to, and so if it senses you're overdoing it, it's maybe going to send your body some signals to slow you down so you can't overdo it, so it can heal. And so that was the biggest learning lesson I got to really absorb. But what it helped me do was that the year after I healed, I thought, if I only have another year to live, all of this content I have to share with people, all these teachings, all these rhythms, I can't leave it here. I need to get it out of my brain and into this course. And so for all of last year, I've had a couple of modules done, but all of last year, basically I was flying the plane, building the plane as I was flying it, right? I'm recording, but I'm doing it much quicker, much more efficiently, much more on purpose. And so some weeks, it was hard, but I was really working at it, but it wasn't the same burnout trying to do that plus 10 million other things all at the same time, which was the old version of me. So I've learned to, when Tamu was talking about, that people getting all excited, okay, let's go and let's do this, and while you're meditating you're thinking of all the things that you have to do and stuff. That's still a work in progress for me, right? I'm very much an analyzing promoter, and so I'm so it's a constant daily, I shouldn't say effort, because I like it. I really like the days that I can start with my gratitude journal everything, it's like everything I touch turns to gold. So that is, and again, sometimes even though I know that, I know, like, there's days I don't do it. I'm like, why wouldn't I do that when I know what works, you know? So
Oh
yeah,
my
that
God.
was,
Yeah. Why wouldn't I do what I know that works? It's like I think we
duh.
all feel that, don't we?
Yeah.
Know what works. Why don't we do it?
Yeah. So like now there's like this, you know, and but it's still, I find that there's every time that something new that comes up that would normally be a struggle. Like last week, like I really struggled with my energy. I did not run in the last 7 days. And that's something that I haven't gone that strength, but I got to listen to my body. My body was saying, no, no, don't go out. Like, the normal, I used to be very much a people pleaser and also competitive with myself. And even though I made a commitment to run a half marathon by the time I'm 50 in May, for me to stand up for myself and my body and say, you know what? If it doesn't get done by the end of May, that's okay. I'm listening to my body now, and I get to rest. I get to really pay attention and trust my instincts. Like that's the one thing, that's another huge thing that I've learned powerfully, is to trust my instincts, and the difference between being lazy or really listening, you know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so much gold there. There's just so much gold there. Oh my gosh. So this kind of this brain, this first of all, the blood, like your body knows exactly how to heal itself. Everything that you have to heal is within you. I mean, that is just magnificent.
Yeah.
It's such a bumper sticker, but it's like, no, literally, they've taken my blood out, they've put it back in another place, and it's gone and fixed it. And I love you said it, and I don't know if you know that you said it. It was like, if I have only a year left, I have to take what's in this brain and get it out there. And I'm like, of course, your brain was like, I'm trying to get it out there. Trying to get it out there. And so I see this beauty in this, actually, you have such a massive level of creativity. And like you said, you came from this music royalty in a way, in this kind of Celtic snobbery of this type of music, but still there is a lineage. We talked about the ancestry. There is this lineage of the rhythm. You talked about, there's so many rhythms that I want to get out there. The drumming living through you, the music living through you. And I love the story that even though your father wrote music, he got to have it written by this woman. The nun knew how to put it on the paper. And then you were named after her. And then you come and you're keeping the rhythm and you're keeping the time for something else. And, God, we could go on forever with the piper and, the magical lifestyle. But then your blocks along the way, your wounds that you got to heal. And each time as you're talking, the voice wound leads you to go online. The brain wound leads you to start getting bigger and really going for it. Like you said, this platinum level 2 would never have got made, but it's now a priority. And I really love that you're now looking at follow my instinct. And at first you had intuition, that intuition that was taking you to find the piper and taking you to Scotland. And now it's the instinct that is the bodily function. That, well, now I get to bring both of them together. My spiritual, the kind of the genuine spirit of the intuition and the instinct of that base body soma that Tammy was talking about, and bringing that together. And whoosh, he said, it's not effort, it's what I do every day. And I write it in my gratitude journal, and everything I touch turns to gold. And everybody gets to be that way. We all get to live that way. We slow down, listen to our body, heal, and have gratitude for it. And I love that you've demonstrated that for us. It's just so beautiful. And you really do have such a magical spiritual energy, the fairy energy. I love that. Who else feels that from her? Who else feels that from Mickey?
It's
so
funny.
great.
I feel so lucky that I actually know what I'm meant here to do. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, like, what I'm here to do. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. But probably the best compliment my mom ever gave me was like, you know what? I never had to worry about you because I knew no one was ever going to make you anything you didn't want to do, because I was like very, very determined and doing what I wanted. And what I share is it's funny, a lot of people will talk about goal setting and things like that. And I think probably in our leadership group that I shared after a post run kind of video, I think the words come out of my mouth, don't be realistic, like be enthusiastic and be excited. It's like, and really, like, I just want people to know that doing what you actually love and are really naturally good at, for like, you can actually do that for a living. It's possible. Like, I mean, if I can, have 2 million views on YouTube teaching a drum that hardly anybody has ever heard of, like, imagine what you can do with whatever gifts that you have, right? And so I think that's why people find my story somewhat inspiring, because it's like, who is she and how did this happen? It's kind of like, this morning, magician guy. Sorry, I forget his first name. Was he talking about his TED Talk and like, how'd I get here? Like, at one point, I'm in San Diego at my first mentor had this seminar, and she asked me to come over because I was like her star student. I did everything she told me to do. That's why I was so successful on YouTube. And so she's like, oh, maybe the second day you can open the seminar, right, with a drum solo. And so the keynote speaker that day was like Andy Jenkins. He was the co-producer of the Blair Witch Project. Like, I find myself on stage at this marketing seminar teaching video marketing, and I'm getting introduced by the red-haired Kermit from the Pussycat Dolls, right? It's like really weird blending of very different worlds, but that's also a big part of me. I love letting other musicians and creatives especially know that it's actually really cool to take up space. Like, your gifts aren't yours to keep, and as Wayne Dyer says, don't die with your music still inside you. And so that's one of my favorite quotes, and that's that book. If anyone doesn't have that book, it's definitely well worth a read.
Oh my gosh, what a way to bring that together. Don't die with your music left inside you. And he is one of your angels, and literally, you are literally living that line. I am not going to die with my music left inside me. Oh my gosh. Mickey, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's so real, so down to earth. What are you hearing here? Literally go in the chat and let me know what you're hearing, because what we've got is, I'm just a regular girl who teaches the baron that not a lot of people have heard about. It's taken me all the way to these incredible heights and started to kind of really put yourself on the map and be in the flow, be in the magic. And if you can do it, anyone can do it. It's so
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, Mickey, thank you so much. Can we have lots and lots of hands for Mickey? So where do they find you? Where do they find you?
Okay, well, you can go to mickystewart.com, and you might find videos on my YouTube channel that I'll say I'm Michelle Stewart, but on my YouTube channel as well, I think I could probably paste some links in here. I did a video on why I went back to my nickname. I'm just going to copy all my links and I'll paste them. But if anyone, it's funny, when I asked my mastermind last week, I'm doing this summit with Mary Kate. What kind of things do you think I should talk about? I thought it would be like video marketing and videos and all this stuff. And they're like, no, talk about manifesting. So it's like, but if people go to, I put a bunch of links in there, whatever resonates. If you go to mickystewart.com, you'll find all of them in the top. But at the happycreativeentrepreneur.com link, there's a free gift there for if anyone wants to know how to get started with videos, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook Lives. There's some of my top 10 ideas for making videos to reach a global audience. So that's a really cool ideas that you'll know already, but sometimes you need to hear it from someone else to think, oh yeah, I already have a video from a workshop I can post or whatever. And so there's some really good tips in there. If anyone's interested in the drumming, you can go to boranexpert.com or my YouTube channel, Boran Masterclass. There's like about, I don't know, 50 plus free videos on there. And yeah, you can find me everywhere at Mickey Stewart Official at Instagram. And yeah, I'd love to connect with anyone afterwards. And I'm Mickey Stewart at mickeystewart.com for email if anyone wants to reach out. I'm just so grateful for this opportunity, Mary Kate. I just have to thank you so much, because my word for this year is listen. And one of your superpowers, honey, is you are such an amazing listener. That is something I am trying to get so much better at, is truly listening and being present with someone else like this. And you're just so powerful. Thank you so much.
Oh, you are so welcome. And, you know, the honor is all mine. It is so beautiful, and it's amazing to be able to showcase you like this and to share you with everyone so that they can see what is really possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Go and enjoy drumming your way into making sure the world receives the rhythm. My darling, I will catch up with you soon. So much love. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Blow it up and say thank you so much to the beautiful Mickey.